Ladies and gentlemen, I just finished watching The Boys Season 5, Episode 3, and this one was an interesting one. We got the further development of Soldier Boy is actually alive, and the reason he's alive is because he's using he was built with V1. It's what makes him, Stormfront, and a few other of the superheroes actually immortal, and it's what prevents that virus from actually working. So Soldier Boy is immune. And now that Homelander knows about this, Soldier Boy is, not Soldier Boy, Homelander's trying to take full advantage of it. Homelander is trying to take full advantage and get his hands on this compound V1, this early prototype. But the thing is, it doesn't really exist. The early days of it were when Vault was created and when Soldier Boy was created and all of that. That original recipe was destroyed, damaged, and all of it was just hidden. It was all hidden. So Homelander's mission, this whole episode, is to find this compound V1. Meanwhile, you have the boys trying to work to make sure that they get their hands on it. So that was the general premise for this episode. And in doing so and setting forward on this mission, the boys end up going to some vault somewhere, and it turns out Stan Edgar and Zoe are there, so they all reunite, they all have this moment. Obviously, Zoe wants to kill Butcher for killing her mother, and Stan Edgar is there with everyone else, just Stan Edgaring and, Los Polios Hermanosing. So that's what happens. That's like the setup for this episode. But then while Stan Edgar and the boys are in that vault, the Deep, Black Noir, and a couple of the other superheroes who are really definitely just villains, they all go to the same vault that the boys are at and try to break in. And in doing so, what happens is one of the people in this vault is the Translucent's son. And Translucent's son is all a wreck because he didn't see, he has to live without his dad, and he was lied to that Homelander killed his dad. But Huey's there, and Huey obviously feels bad about what he did, and it was a genuine moment. There was a crazy, incredible fight scene that breaks out later in the episode when it eventually gets revealed that to Translucent's son that Huey actually killed his dad. Fantastic fight scene. We'll get to that. But that's the general setup for this episode. The Deep, Black Noir, and the two other people come in to try to infiltrate. Homelander has some crazy experience where he sees, this is so bad that I'm forgetting her name, but the woman from the first and I think second season of the show who he was obsessed with, like the mom figure, she came back in a hallucination where Homelander is like down on his knees, like it was ridiculous. It was a ridiculous trip where he sees her as like this godly figure and she tells him that it's his divine thing to actually seek out Compound V1. It was a funny scene. And then later when Homelander is found by Soldier Boy in a bath of milk, it's the funniest thing. He got it from some nursery, like all the mother's milk, and he's bathing in it. It's just stuff like that with the boys that I think is funny. I also think, though, sometimes it gets taken too far. I didn't address this in episode 1 too much, but I'm going to address this here. Kimiko's dialogue fucking sucks. Like, it's absolutely horrible, and I don't understand what they're thinking with it. But then I realized, like, Soldier Boy also has that kind of dialogue, and some of the other characters where it's like, oh, what in the cum piss titties? Like, okay, I didn't mean to say something so outlandish like that, but like, that is exactly the kind of dialogue you hear them say. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, why? I get it, the superheroes, I get when the supes say it because it kind of shows how immature they are for these like big divine figures that they are in society. So I do kind of like that sort of play, but I don't like it when our leads and protagonists just talk about that. In this whole episode, it was talking about how Kimiko has like an obsession with porn and all of that stuff. It's like, why are we getting this? I don't understand why we're getting this sort of communication. It's just, it really is immersion breaking for me. Like, what the fuck is this? It's very bizarre. So I had to address it because it's not getting better. I thought episode 2 was kind of okay, but then episode 3 it picked back up again, and I'm glad Huey actually like acknowledged it later in the episode and was like, geez, Kimiko, like cut it out. And Kimiko's like, what? Like something like that. I'm glad it's being acknowledged, but it's like, it's taking it steps too far. So that was that. And while this is all going on, Billy Butcher meets up with Ryan. Ryan, in the beginning of this episode, I guess was just taking out anger, killing a ton of Russian soldiers, which is crazy because we see how angry and Homelander-y Ryan can be. Anyway, they meet up. Before they meet up, Zoe and Ryan have this conversation where Zoe wants to kill Butcher and Ryan defends it. Turns out Butcher was right behind him the whole time. And Butcher and Ryan have a whole arc. They go off, they meet up, and Butcher explains to Ryan, the only way for Homelander to die is if you go to him, sacrifice yourself, and all of that stuff with the virus. You know what I mean? So that's what happens. Ryan eventually agrees, even though he knows it's a mission where he's going to die as well. He agrees because what is his life anyway? Honestly, in the grand scheme of it, that's kind of his assumption is, what's my life anyway? People don't like me. I'm a soup, like all that stuff. So why not? Why not go out swinging, getting out the big bad, and go out that way? But when it's revealed later in the episode that Zoe and her dad reunite, Zoe's dad was the one building all the virus and all of that stuff. When that eventually comes out, the guy making the virus gives up and wants to go away, which leads Billy Butcher to realize that with Ryan there. And then Ryan gets all mad because Billy was essentially, I guess, saying they're not going to go to Homelander, and Ryan got upset thinking he couldn't do it alone. Something like that. I can't remember the exact reason. So Ryan goes off and finds Homelander alone, and Homelander beats the ever-living fuck out of Ryan to the point of death. I thought he was going to die, which is crazy to see because it's very rare you see in TV or movies a kid getting beat to death, pretty much. But that's exactly what happened. I thought he died, but at the very, 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 very last shot of the episode, you get like a movement from him. So it's clear he's still alive, just in bad shape from Homelander. So that is exactly that. And then other than that, The Deep has this moment where he like sabotages Black Noir. He gets Stan Edgar in his Cybertruck, which is so hilarious that they were driving Cybertrucks. Anyway, he gets Stan Edgar in the Cybertruck, and then he smoke bombs Stan Edgar as well as Black Noir, gets Black Noir out of the car, and then leaves him out there. Very interesting. I was surprised that was a thing. So I'm interested to see where that goes, because this is an interesting version of Noir where he's not talking. Like, I feel like there's going to be some sort of twist now with this Noir. Very interested to see where it goes, but that's that. And then other than that, we had some Soldier Boy moments where he like fucked Firecracker. I thought that was pretty interesting. I thought that was funny. And it was funny that his lines to her were hilarious, but it was funny that he said he was basically doing it out of spite to get back at his son. But Firecracker and Homelander never had sex because Homelander was only interested in Firecracker's milk. It's just so funny. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this in terms of like a story breakdown, that's what this story is, but that's what it is. But then again, just to go back to it, the fight scene between Huey and Translucent Sun, where Translucent Sun finds out that Huey from the Deep, he finds out that Huey was the one who killed his dad. That fight sequence was absolutely incredible. It was a wonderful fight. It's cool to see like Huey getting beat the hell up and also fighting someone invisible. And then when it comes to it, the person with the buzz cut comes in. Is it a lady? I think it's a lady. The lady with I'm sorry if it isn't. I really do apologize if it isn't. But the lady who comes in and like does the squeeze thing and blows the people up. Well, that person ends up squeezing and getting the Translucent Sun instead of Huey. Starlight comes in and sees that, freaks out, has a whole conniption, and then goes fuck off, and she leaves because she doesn't want Huey to die again. But it was a crazy, crazy moment. Wonderful scene. And then that person dies. That's crazy. So now she's dead. And there's that. Fascinating story. Really interesting stuff. I really enjoyed this episode. It wasn't like my favorite thing. Like, again, I didn't say this right the last time, and I'm gonna say this right this time. The Boys is a fun show to watch, and that's what I mean when I say it's awesome, but I'm not a huge fan of some of the things they do with the writing. I'm not a huge fan of some of on one hand, I love what they do with paralleling reality, with tying in a lot of things that are going on in real life into the story, but also on one hand, it does feel very like one-sided. It feels like they try to shove like narratives in a fun way down your throat, and it kind of like, not that I don't really mind that much if it's done in a way that's super tasteful, and the show kind of does do that, but also it's kind of like obvious where they're coming from, and I don't like when art like tries to get people and their audience to feed a narrative subliminally through it. I get every piece of media does that. I'm just not a fan of when it feels like forced, or like they're trying to make it subtle but forced. I don't know how to describe what I mean. I'm just not a fan of that. I'd rather it just be like an authentic, like creative piece. I don't know. Are some people I say going to disagree or even hate that I said that? Probably. I'm not trying to get that way on this channel, but it's one of the reasons I wouldn't call this like Shakespearean great show. It's very fun to watch, and I will keep watching it. I just don't love the writing. I don't like some of the decisions where I feel like sometimes it gets too political on both sides of the spectrum, and I'm just not a fan of that. I don't need that. We have too much shit in the real world that I don't want to deal with it in my TV shows. I watch these shows as an escape, not to be like, oh wait, that, oh wait, that, oh wait, maybe they're trying to get me to be like that. You know what? I don't know. I don't know how to describe what I mean. It's just something I'm not too much of a fan of. Anyway, that all to say, this was a fun episode. I enjoyed it. I don't know what I'd rate it, but with all that out of the way, let's hear from you. I probably just got canceled in the process because people don't agree with people having anything to say about politics, whatever. Anyway, with all that out of the way, thank you again so much for watching this video, and until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.